Hey guys, welcome back once again. This is Shrikant Rathod here. Today, I came up with very important topic called ratios and proportions. In this session, I'll be discussing about the basics of ratios and proportions along with some tricks and shortcuts. So, let's start. Ratios is the comparison between two or more things. Example, the ratio of boys to girls in a class, or the ratio of the men to women in a committee is, and so on. In general, the ratio of A is to B can be written as A is to B, or you can also write it in A by B. Basically, there are two types of ratios. The one is part to part. Example of this is the ratio of boys to girls in a class. Another type is part to whole, or I can also say part to total. Example, I can say boys to students. When I'm saying students, it means I'm considering the entire class, that is including both boys and girls. Let's take one example relating with this. There are 25 students in a class, of which 15 are boys and remaining are girls. Now question is the ratio of boys to girls. How much? What is the ratio of boys to girls? The second question here, let me ask, girls represent what part of the class? What part or what fraction of the class? Girls represent what part of the class? So the first thing is we need to know how many girls are there. So number of girls here, we can say total 25 students, and of which 15 are boys, so we can say 25 minus 15, so there are 10 girls. The ratio of boys to girls, so we can say boys to girls, so same as 15 by 10. 5 times 2, 5 times 3, so this is equivalent to 3 by 2. This can also be written as 3 is to 2. This is the ratio of boys to girls in a class. Another is the girls represent what part of the class. We know that there are total 10 girls and the total students in the class are 25. So this is equivalent to 2 by 5. So girls representing 2 part of the class, right? So there are many other type of question you may expect in based on the ratios and proportions. So let's see the other type as well. Let me just erase this all. Okay. You may also expect a question based on this. If the ratio of P is to Q, R is to S. If there is a question relating with this, so this can also be equivalent to P by Q equals to R by S. That is the componendo, and the dividendo, that is the other rule of ratios and proportions. So we'll be discussing it later. As of now, just let's do relating with the ratios. The term which we have written inside, these are called the mean terms, and the terms whichever we have written outside P and S, these are called extremes, extreme terms. Okay, let's take one example relating with this now. The ratio of the ratio of P is to Q is 2/3 and the ratio of Q is to R is 5/4. Now, what is the ratio of, let me just take P is to Q is to R, and another one they may also ask you what is the ratio of P is to R. Okay, so there are like two different ways to solve this type of question. So I'll show you the both, whichever you comfortable with you can follow that, right? So the first thing what I can write here is I can write the ratios, the ratio of P is to Q, and they also said as Q is to R. So what is the ratio of P is to Q here? 2 is to 3, and here it is 5 is to 4. So you have to make the value of P here and the P here to be the same. So to make those same, then what should I do? You have to multiply the value of this one with the other value. So you have to multiply 3 with the 5, and you have to multiply the value of this one with the 3. So when you are multiplying, you should not just do the multiplying with the the Q value. So you have to multiply for the entire expression. So this entire expression will be multiplied by 5, and this entire expression is multiplied by 3. So this is equivalent to, I can say, 2 times 5 is 10, 5 times 3 is going to be 15, and here 3 times 5 is going to be 15, and 4 times 3 is going to be 12. Look at here, the value of Q here and here it's same. So the definitely the P and R will be in the ratios now. So the ratio of P is to Q is to R, I can say as 10 to 15 is to 12. So if you can further simplify them, simplify it, or else that itself is the ratio. So what would be the ratio of P is to R now? Take the extremes, that is 10 is to 12. You can further simplify it as 5 is to 6, or you can also write it as 5 by 6. This is the ratio of P is to R. Okay. Another way, you can write, instead of writing in this way, you can write the P is to Q, as we know that 2 is to 3, and we know that Q is to R is 5 is to 4. To find the ratio of P is to Q is to R, what you need to do is first multiply P with the Q like this. That I'll be doing here as P times Q, then multiply this Q with Q, that is Q times Q, and then multiply Q with R. So I'm just going as showing as an inverted N, right? So Q is to R. So how do we do with the numbers here now? Multiply 2 times 5, that is 2 times 5, 2 times 5 is to 5 is to 3, that is 5 is, or 5 times 3 is to 3 times 4. So that is 3 times 4. This is equivalent to what we get. 2 times 5 is 10, 5 times 3 is going to be 15, and 3 times 4 is going to be 12. Same thing. We got in answer as same. So 10 is to 15 is to 12. That is the ratio of P is to Q is to R, and 10 is to 12 is the ratio of P is to R, right? So these are the different ways. Now let's take some other examples relating with the same concept. Let me erase this now. Okay. All right. Let me take another example. P is to Q is equal to 2 is to 3. Q is to R is equals to 4 is to 5. R is to S is equals to, let's take 6 is to 7. Now question is, what is the ratio of P is to Q is to R is to S? Or they may also ask you what is the ratio of P is to S. q is to r, and so on. So in general, this is how we can solve. So let me write it in this way. I can write as the ratio of p is to q is what? 2 is to 3. Then we can write it here as q is to r is 4 is to 5, and then r is to s is 6 is to 7. I'll tell you the shortcut here. So what you can do is to find the ratio of p is to q is to r is to s. So you can do it here. To find the what would be the value for the p here, just multiply this vertical, that the column. So p is to q is to r. So the first value will be getting it as p times q times r. Second one is multiply q, this q with this one, and then it comes back to the r. So that is, we can write it as q times r. And the third one is multiply q times r times with this r. Remember the arrows how I'm drawing, okay? So this can be written as q times r times r. And the last is just same as the first one. You have to multiply all the last term, that is q times r times s. Now let's take with the numbers here. So first what I need to do is I just need to multiply 2 times 4 times 6, that is 2 times 4 times 6, that is the ratio of p. And the next I have to do it as 3 times 4 times 6, isn't it? So we have to do it as 3 times 4 times 6. The next is 3 times 5 times 6, that is 3 times 5 times 6, and the last one is just multiply them as it is. So last, it's 3 times 5 times 7. So simplify it. So if is there any term which are common in all, so you can simplify them further, and if not, just multiply. Now look at 3 here, and 3 times 2, I can write it as 6. So your ratios is like, is there anything common in all? You can't divide or simplify if the common in 1 or 2. The common term should be in all this one, right? So here, is there anything here? 7, no, and the 5, no. 7 is the another one, so it's not. So just multiply them. 2 times what we are, 2 times 4 is 8, 8 times 2, the 16 is 2. Now here 4 times 6, what we get? 24 is 2. 5 times 6 is gonna be 30 is 2. 5 times 7 is gonna be 35. This is the ratio of p is to q is to r. Okay, so if they are asking you what is the ratio of p is to s or q is to r, so based on this you can choose the number. So this is the ratio of p is to q is to r is to s, right? This is the way of solving questions if more than 2 or 3 variables are involved, and if there is a question asking about more values. All right, so let's go to the other type. Let's go to the other examples relating with the ratios. Let me just erase. Okay, sometime you may also expect a question in this way: if p by 2 is equivalent to q by 3 is equal to r by s. Now they may ask you, what is the ratio of p is to q is to r? So what is the ratio of p is to q is to r? So this is very simple. Let me just write down as it is: p by 2, q by 3, and r by 5. So here p by 2, q by 3, and r by 5, I can equal this one to a one variable x, or I can just equal it to the 1. Let me just equate with some students do they solve by equating this to the variable called x, or I can just equate it to the 1, so that it reduces my simplification, so you may not get confused with this. So blindly equate this whatever the values they have given it to 1. So from this one, what is the value of p you are getting? P we are getting it equal to 2. 1 times 2 is 2. So equate here is to 1. So I'm getting q here as 1 times 3. So that is 1 time 3. That is the value of q. It's gonna be 3. And here also equate, always equate it to 1. Okay. So this is the trick or the rule what you can remember. So from this I can say r is equals to 1 times 5. This is equivalent to 5. Now they are asking you the ratio of p is to q is to r. So the ratio of p is to q is to r here is p is to q is to r. Here is same as 2 is to 3 is to 5. So this is how you can solve. So in shortcut, whatever the denominator for this type of ratios questions, so whatever the denominator itself will be the ratios of the p, q and r or some other variable. If they can simplify it further, simplify them. If not, keep them as it is. Alright. So let's take the another example. This is with the division. Let's take the another example. Okay. You may also get a question saying that let's take 3a is equivalent to 4b, it's also equivalent to 5c. Now, what is the ratio of, what is the ratio of a is to b is to c? So they have given in this way. Now question is, what is the ratio of a is to b is to c? Simple, the same thing we need to follow what we did before. So whatever they have given it, so you have to equate it to either variable x or 1. So I go with 1. So I can equate 3a is equal to 1. So from this one, the value of a I can say as 1/3. 4b, whatever is there you have to equate with 1. In this case, the value of b I can get as 1/4. And 5c equals to 1. So from this then the value of c is gonna be 1/5. So this is the ratios. The ratio here as 1/3, 1/4, 1/5. But we are asking you can't represent the ratio in terms of fractions. Then what else we can do? You have to find the the least common multiple of the denominator. So what is the least common multiple here? So we have to find the LCM of the denominator. So 3, 4 and 5. As 3, 4 and 5 are completely different, they won't appear in a common table. So the least common multiple for this is same as 3 times 4 times 5. So what we get? 3 times 4 times 5, that is 12. 12 times 5 is gonna be 60. So whatever the least common multiple you got, this one you have to multiply with the ratio. So multiply with the ratio which we have represented in terms of fractions. So this can be written as now 60 times 1/3 is to 60 times 1/4 is to 60 times 1/5, right? So this is like 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 0 as it is. So this can be written as 20. And what we can say here, 4 times 1, 4 times 2, then sorry, 4 times 1 and 4 times 1, let me just take and carry 4 times 5, it's going to be 15. So it's going to be 15. And here 5 times 1 and the 5 times 1 and the 2 will 1 is gone, it becomes 10. 5 times 2, it's going to be 10. So the ratio here is 20 is to 15 is to 12. So if it is further possible to simplify, simplify it, or else so keep it as 20 is to 15 is to 12. So the ratio of A is to B is to C here is 20 is to 15 is to 12. So these are the rule what we need to do. Just equate the whatever the multiplied or the division ratios, if they are asking you, equate to 1 and simplify it further. All right. So now let's move to the next part here. Other type of question what you may expect based on the ratios is, let me just take a common example. I can say A, B and C are three friends investing a mutual fund. In the ratio of 2:3:5. Now, if total amount invested is $3,000. Now question is, what is individuals investment? So it means like how much each person has invested if we are talking in the ratio. So here some people do they solve by considering the variable x or something, but I just suggest if there is a question relating with like this, the first thing we need to do is add that. So whatever the ratio they have given to you, just add them. 2 plus 3 plus 5. So what we are getting here, I'm getting the sum as 10. So now I can say 2 or a person A has invested in the ratio of 2, B is 3 and C is 5. So I can say the person A has invested 2 part out of the total 10 and the person B has invested as the 3 part out of total 10 and the person C has invested 5 part out of total 10. So this is how we can calculate their individual investment. The investment made by the person A, I can say it as 2 part out of total 10 and the total amount here is 3000. Simplify it. So what you gonna get? 600, right? So you have to just take their part to whole and then multiply by the total amount. What is the investment of the person B? So 3 part of out of total 10 multiply by 3000. So what we gonna get here it as $900. Okay, and what is the investment of the person C here? The 5 part out of total 10 times the same amount here. So $1,500. So add up all, you'll be getting it as 3000, right? So this is how you calculate. The person A is 600, B is 900 and the person C is 1500. They may also ask you in exam, what is the difference in the amount of the person A and person C? Or they may also ask you, how much more a person B invested compared with person C. These are the variety. Once you know how to calculate, you can do the basic add, subtract, multiply, division based on the questions they ask, right? So this is the another way of solving, and these are the commonly asked question in the competitive exam. So instead of assigning to the variable, you can just add them and you can calculate these values, right? Okay, now let's move to the next part of the topic, that is proportions. A proportion is a statement that the two ratios are equal. So I can say, for example, if I'm writing here, the ratio of 2:3 is equivalent to 4:6, right? The ratio of 2 is 3 is also equivalent to 4:6. This can also be written as 6:9 and this can also be written as 8:12 and so on. These are the ratios and its equivalent ratios are called the proportions, because 4:6 we are getting it like the same ratio when you are multiplying it by the some integer. So remember, if you simplify 4:6 or 6:9 or 8:12, your common ratio, that is the prime ratio, or I can say the initial ratio, is fixed, that is 2:3 only. But we can represent these ratios in a different way. That is how we can say the proportion is the statement that the two ratios are equal. Okay, now one type of question what we expect to solve related with the proportion is to finding the value of unknown. So let's take an example. So here, if I'm saying the 2/3 is equivalent to, let's take, so equivalent to, let's take an example here as n by 15. So 2/3 is equivalent to n by 15. So what is the value of n? So what we do? Just need to do the cross multiplication, isn't it? So just do the cross multiplication. This can be written as 2 times 15 is equals to 3n. So but I am looking the value of n here. So divide by 3 on the both the side. So you'll be getting 3 times 1, 3 times 5. So 5 times 2 it's 10. So 10 is equal to n. So this is the value of n here is 10. So this is the most simplest concept what we need to know. It's, I can generally say, equating the two ratios are called a proportions. So that's it for the today's class. Thank you so much for being with me. We'll see you in the next class with the another video. Thank you so much.